Yeah, it gets to that point where there's now too many big teams to pop off and have their big moment, right? Again, it's the same kind of scenario where there's only 9 teams that can make playoffs, but there seems to be about 15 teams that deserve to be there. So are we going to see Optic step up? Are we going to see NRG step up? Are we going to see 100 Thieves have a big game as well? There's all these different teams that could pop off in their right moment. But it's about knuckling down. It's about actually getting it done as we get out of the dropship and we get onto the map once more. World's Edge for 2 more times we have today before the week 2 of Pro League will finish. I really want to see where this circle is going to end up, because I think we know statistically it has been making a big difference on who finishes where. But are we going to see a more comfortable circle for some of these teams that have been struggling?
I think one interesting story as well, just to highlight, is Dark Zero had a great start to the day, right? They picked up a win in that game number 1. But outside of that, been a little bit anonymous. And now that they've moved over to North America and they're competing in the North American Pro League with just 9 spots available, Dark Zero got to start stepping up as well. Back-to-back LAN champions. There's always the chance you don't make the damn LAN, which would be incredibly disappointing for them. But as I say that, I bless them. As you can see where that zone is going, you see Lava Siphon's going to be there, but you also see a little bit of a contest going down at the northern side of the map. And that is going to be Bots on our screen at the moment, and down to just 2 as Stompers has fallen.
Yeah, Bots having a fight already. And unfortunately, in a 2 versus 3, you really need to be now communicating perfectly with one another, watching those angles, baiting and switching where you can. No shields to work with as well, both on Greys at the moment. And weapons aren't particularly the best. A Prowler and an Alternator to work here for JQ, and trying to get up and close and personal. The Clamber, though, comes through. And unfortunately, it might have ruined everything for him. Goes to the sky now, but it is going to be the end of Bots, as Slept On win that initial engagement with the contest in the early stages.
Well, it's the first time we've seen a little bit of contesting going down on our screens, and it's going to be one. Of course, oh my goodness, what did we just see, by the way? In our kill feed, things looking very spicy already, and it's Dark Zero who are involved. They hold off Rack Attack and will win the fight over here at Lava Siphon. Now, that's not only big for the fact that it's a straight-up fight at the beginning of a game, a team who, like I mentioned, maybe need to just add to that point tally a little bit, but this is where we maybe are expecting this circle to pull towards. So Dark Zero now going to have a bit more time to pick and choose where they want to actually engage and where they want to set up for the long game. Yeah,
Lava Siphon is a pretty safe banking point here for teams, as this circle could pull all the way down towards like Geyser or Lava, but most often will end up somewhere around Lava Siphon with the circle that we've seen so far. But those with beacon information will probably be able to position themselves a little bit better than those who haven't. But certainly, as I say, just going for those areas where there's more likely to be able to play from is where we're going to see Lava Siphon be often sought after by a lot of these teams. And actually, we're seeing, I'm looking at the map overhead, a lot of teams are already heading that way to try and find a little bit of room to play with.
Yeah, interesting fight maybe about to break out, actually. It's NRG and Complexity were very close to each other on the western side of Lava Siphon. So it's going to be Slept On, who are having to deal with a little bit of a push coming in. Not for the first time. They won the contest, but now they've got Sentinels in the area. Sentinels looking to pick up some pieces. Not sure what the composition is going to be for Sentinels in this game here on World's Edge, but Slept On already coming under pressure here.
Yeah, not just Slept On, but actually everyone in Lava Siphon is under a little bit of pressure at the moment. Optic laying down some fire on the east side of Lava Siphon. Complexity also doing some damage, as well as Slept On getting involved in this fight right now. This is such a difficult position to try and play, and it is Sentinels with this composition you were talking about who now can get aggressive with the Bloodhound.
This is happening right at the northern tip of the map, this fight. As Sentinels try and move in right now. Should be able to get the finish. They seem to be doing the damage that is required. The hipfire will get the knock, but now Lou has gone down as well. So the falling from the sky Valkyrie is still doing damage. Krusty's having to work hard for this, as are Sentinels, but Slept On will go down. And Sentinels will be able to reset here. Nobody else in the vicinity to take advantage of a third-party opportunity, and that's what Sentinels do best when they're playing at their best. They pick up those isolated 3v3s, they win those fights, and they pick up those KP to fight with.
It's mad, because Lava Siphon looks very similar to Climatizer, and I was expecting us to go to a Lava Siphon fight, considering how many teams are there, but the one place where there's only 2 teams was Climatizer. Very important that Sentinels won that engagement, because now they have the entirety of the northern side of the map to themselves. They can loot, they can rotate slowly, they can make their way down to Fragment East. Granted, they're not going to be in one of the best positions for Final Circle, but we know that historically Sentinels can play Edge very successfully anyway here on World's Edge, so we'll see whether they can pop off.
The guard pick up a couple of KP, 17 squads remaining, as we've seen 3 fall, and Now they're going to make their move as well. They're in the cut between Harvester and, of course, Lava Siphon, trying to kind of thread the needle and see if they can find a level or maybe one of those buildings on the outside of Lava Siphon to try and hold down a little bit. CLG using the bubble just to retreat and make sure that they're safe. They do also have a team inside of this Lava Siphon here. So holding down the tunnel for CLG is objective number 1. And with Dimmy with a wingman in his hand, we've seen this guy do some crazy nutty stuff in arena with that weapon. It wouldn't be surprising to see him feel extremely confident if anyone does decide to poke.
It does feel like pretty much every team in this lobby has one player who is an absolute aim star who can bring something out that just defies all odds and really blows our minds at any moment. And that is what is so exciting about watching the ALGS Pro League, is there's so many talented individuals. There is your map overhead, though. There is the lay of the land, as it were, and there is very much a lot of congestion down over towards Lava Siphon at the moment. Everyone in or around it. There's still maybe, what, 5 teams who aren't there, and I think they've realized now that they are too late to the punch. They are not going to get into one of those positions, so they're going to have to bide their time, wait for a little bit of more circle information before they eventually decide to get involved in that party.
I like the way that Optic are playing this as well. We do see those pools a little bit away from Lava Siphon towards the eastern side, where we saw in EMEA earlier, right? It finishes out in the open. All the teams that are stacked up in the buildings have to leave. And Optic are kind of deciding to play the bridge, play the low ground between Big Maud and that position that we were talking about inside of Lava Siphon. So if that is the pull that happens, Optic could be in a good position here to have a good game. NRG, they're kind of hovering around the outside of the map at the moment. They're down to the southern side of Lava Siphon. Again, not choosing to get inside and stack up with all of these other teams. And to be honest, I kind of like that approach. Let everybody else have some of that real estate that's center zone. But if they have to leave, both NRG and, of course, Optic might be in good positions to take advantage of that. As I say, NRG decide that maybe they want to change that gameplay. Now they're trying to move in and take this fight and bully the team off.
Yeah, bully the team off, take their position, force them to maybe run into another team, and then there's one less team to worry about as well. I will say, we did have the guard on our screens just then, and, you know, their consistency has been incredible as NRG are consistently continuing to push right now, maybe wanting that extra KP from the Smiley team that was below them. But it looks like they're going to have to hand that team off to someone else now, because it's Dark Zero who are on the other side of things, and NRG need to rethink about where they want to position themselves and maybe go back to a more comfortable home.
Oh, Gilderson's got to be so careful here. You could see just getting singed by a charge rifle. Nathan also in a position here where he's just trying to survive. All of a sudden, the game plan changes once again from NRG from a aggression to just trying to stabilize and just stay alive in the lobby. Looks like they will be able to do so, though. Didn't get the KP they were looking for on that push, though, which is going to be frustrating. But sometimes in those kind of situations, this is where you need your leader to say, it's all right. It's okay. We didn't get the KP we wanted from that fight, but now we've got to draw our attention back and kind of let that one slide.
Shotgun bolt here. Level 3.
A lot of silence over World's Edge at the moment. A few shots ringing through the map, but it's mostly just poke damage from a distance, because all those teams who did rotate early seem to be in safe-ish spots. It's going to get a little bit more messy when all the teams who are outside of the circle start to make their way through. G2 are going to really shake things up when they eventually come in from the western side. FaZe are actually setting up in Harvester right now, and we've seen some crazy pulls. I don't think it's quite going to go all the way over to Harvester, but there could be a little bit of the maybe snake tunnel that stays in the circle, that's for sure. I think those teams who are banking on the southwest of Lava Siphon are going to get a shock surprise when they get that beacon information. As I can see on the map overhead, things are not going to look pretty for those teams who are on the southwest side. It is moving more northeast, actually, from where they currently reside.
I like what Sweet's doing as well. Sweet just swinging around, using that mouse and keyboard ability and the movement to just make sure that he's using that Seer passive to constantly check if there's any teams rotating in late behind him. So Sweet just always, literally almost with a head on a swivel now, playing on Seer, using that passive to the fullest of its abilities. But here comes G2 now. They are making their move towards Harvester, and if anyone is going to be making problems for anyone, it's going to be G2, and it's Team Liquid who are on the other side of this, and also in the vicinity overlooking this, inside a Harvester, is FaZe. So you have 3 of our powerhouses about to butt heads here on the edge of Harvester.
Yeah, that's why I was uh-ohing. If G2 didn't notice Team Liquid there, that was going to be them done and dusted. They would have got absolutely wiped, but Of course, you've got players who are going to be scanning, you've got players who are going to be playing Seer or a Bloodhound, so you can get that information. And now we are going to see G2 slightly change their approach, but that probably ruins their rotation. They were probably thinking they could just calmly rotate around Harvester and find themselves with a little bit of space to work with. Now they're going to have to go through a little bit more of a chaotic approach. No pun intended, because obviously Chaotic is playing for G2. But Team Liquid are instead going to move their way into Harvester, where they will now be greeted by the FaZe roster that you were talking about that inhabits this area right now.
On my marker.
FaZe trying to hold out Liquid at the moment. Slurp's going to take a little bit of damage though. Has to back up. Got 2 batteries in the inventory to play with. Going to have to use one of those. Half that carrying capacity for now. Does have the gold armor though, so if he can get some poke damage down, he can heal nice and quickly with a shield cell to give a little bit of a advantage to his team in the timing that it might take to get that health back up. But Madness is also in the kill feed as well. It's G2 who are feeling the pain. And speaking of pain, look at these scout shots coming in. Look at the damage being done now by the defensive bombardment. And G2 find themselves in a shambles, and it's all down to the push that comes in from FaZe, and the defensive bombardment from Albralele just shatters them inside of that creek.
And again,
Shatters them inside of that creek.
And again, G2, you know, their rotation was completely ruined by Liquid. And you can see now that they were punished for it as well, having to push through more open area where they were vulnerable to the likes of a defensive bombardment. Frustration for G2, but sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles when you rotate late, when you are playing edge. There are going to be teams in your way. There are going to be teams who block that rotation. It is not plain and simple. Now, earlier you were mentioning how Optic Gaming were playing this circle and how they were banking on it potentially pulling east. I think they might have nailed it with where they currently are residing. If we can get a map overhead at some point, just to where the lay of the land after this fight, perhaps, because really, Optic have hit the nail on the head.
They have for now, but this fight, again, is a very interesting one because Team Liquid at the moment are the meat in the sandwich. And it's not a sandwich that you want to be a part of, to be honest with you. Those who are coming in from the north, on the other side of it, is going to be FaZe. So 2 of the strongest fighting compositions and 3s that you could possibly wish to go up against, well, they're all here at the moment in the vicinity in the north side in this snake. Team Liquid got to be extremely careful how they play this. The good news for them is they will be safe in the next zone, so they don't have to force anything.
That was a meaty sandwich you described. It was almost a sandwich with no bread, but just meat. Upon meat,
yes.
Upon meat. It's like 2 steaks surrounding some chicken.
Talk to me more,
you know,
Dan Gaskin.
it's just a breadless sandwich. That's how meaty it was. It was
my kind of sandwich.
just incredible. So much protein there for all those who want it. But Sentinels now will be looking to the skies to try and get some extra shots, some extra damage on that team that is going to be Valking over the top of them. But at the moment where Sentinels are, they might be in a good spot to try and take down the team that gets past them.
Sorry to jump you off here, but I mean, FaZe were one of the pieces of bread, and now all of a sudden Sentinels find themselves in the middle of things. FaZe actually Valk over the top of Sentinels and take this fight. It's a brave, risky decision coming in here from FaZe, but I gotta say, I kind of love it.
They were tired of being the bread. They wanted to be more meat. And it should work out for FaZe as long as they hit their shots here. But they've got to be careful because the other team in Harvester is now looking their way at the same time. It's brave and it's risky, but it can pay off. You've just got to make sure you strategize in a way where you don't allow yourself to take too much damage from that third-party team. I think you may have missed your window to take a straight 3v3 fight here, so you have to be careful.
I mean, the good thing here for Liquid as well is they're probably sitting there going, oh, thank God FaZe have left, because now FaZe aren't a problem for us. We can just turn our attentions towards FaZe and Sentinels who are just poking at each other, and any damage that goes down, we can become the third party. So FaZe, like you mentioned, tried to create a window of opportunity by landing behind them and behind, Sentinels who are up on this high ground and taking advantage, but it wasn't to happen. We'll have to see what the next play is going to be. We have a listening lined up with FaZe. Let's see what the decision is.
40 on 1. Yo, if you have needs, you...
Hold. Just hold the steady. I'm popping a cell.
Anyone have cells?
No, I only have 2. I have Gibby ult in 7%.
Watch your back. I'm popping my only bat.
They're getting shot in the back. They're getting needed. Don't shoot that seer. Don't shoot that seer.
They're moving right. They're moving right. They're moving right.
Dude, this guy in the building. To our Valko. Listen, how long to our Valko?
This team's getting fucked.
Take my...
We need to kill these guys, I think.
No, we'll be okay. We're gonna have to...
Yeah, I have 2 bats and no cells.
This team's crossing.
They're gonna shoot them then.
We can fight this. We can fight this.
We can hear the intensity here from FaZe. They know they've got decisions to make. Do they fight? Do they go for the Valkyrie? Do they try and push it? It looks like the last is the decision that is made, and Slurpee's going to do damage inside of that bubble. Who's going to go? It's all of FaZe, and it will be them surely coming out on top of this fight.
Yeah, I think they may have realized that waiting for the Valkyrie might have just left them as sitting ducks, so instead they are trying to be proactive, but they've lost one player here, and is that going to be very detrimental because 2 go down? It is going to be sniped down as the last remaining player, who is just going to have to get the hell out of there because Team Liquid did join the fight late. And unfortunately for FaZe, even though they got that KP, it may mean that they cannot get any further in this game apart from just ratting out.
And Snipedown looks like he'll be able to Valkyrie out of here. So will Team Liquid. They saw that third-party opportunity. I mean, the move from FaZe initially, I liked the idea, but the window of opportunity, like you mentioned, closed so fast that all of a sudden FaZe put themselves in a horrible spot, and now FaZe have been eliminated. Liquid kind of blessed in that situation. They were in the toughest of spots, and now they find somewhere to play, but they've got to be careful. The missile swarm coming in as well. Sykes has to pop a Barry. Nocturnal is weak as well, but there is where the defensive legend comes in. Sykes will go down there. The banner will be picked up as Team Liquid down to just 2. 11 squads remaining.
Back to back. Watching every angle at the moment. A castle wall to work with and the shield. It's just a team above them. You can't watch every single angle at the moment. Fun's going to go down. Nocturnal surely will be next. And Liquid eliminated in 11th place. But Space Station, after doing so much damage alongside the likes of Optic, maybe they're in a little bit of trouble as well. They're in such a good spot, but they're now under the team that was previously under them. It's so difficult to try and navigate these final circles.
There's a guard in the vicinity, 100 Thieves around as well. And on the northern side of this circle, Complexity down on that low ground as well, looking to cause a little bit of a problem. But who is away from all of this fighting? Who is still inside of a building feeling safe? It's Optic Gaming, a team who was desperate for a little bit of good luck, are still involved in this fight. Oxygen Esports, they will be taken down by DZ. Dark Zero also looking to regain that form that we saw from them in game number 1.
Yeah, they picked up a few KP here to work with that maybe can just propel them up the leaderboards ever so slightly. They've jumped from 7th to 6th, so they are at least in an upward trajectory. But they are outside of this next circle, so they are going to have to worm their way in it in the next 40 seconds. But you are right. We are going to see Optic in one of the better positions. As I say that, Optic get a stick onto Sweet, so NRG have lost 2, and they may be losing all 3 if they're not careful. NRG are down and out as Optic wipe them out.
Dark Zero overlooking all of this fight going down as well. Dark Zero in a great spot, though, you can see. They don't have a legend that's going to give them cover, though. So it's going to have to just be the natural terrain that surrounds them. They don't have the Gibraltar. They don't have that Newcastle to help them march forward if they have to make a cross and be safe about it. And with Optic Gaming holding down in front of them inside of this truck, it's going to be a tough move here for Dark Zero. The question is, can they find an opportunity for KP now? Yeah,
it's about having your wits about you now and utilizing what you have. You may not have defensive legends, but you've got very aggressive ones. You've got the ability to take the high ground off of someone. You've got the ability to Valkyrie out if you want to go for the real risky play of maybe going for the high ground, which 100 Thieves currently occupy the ultimate high ground, by the way. They have just been able to stay alive as Dark Zero once more used the utility of Horizon just to get that extra little bit of a speed boost so they can escape the team that was shooting them.
But who is that team that's inside, of course, of the only building that's in zone? It's the Guard. The Guard are there again as Dark Zero starts to fall apart. 100 Thieves causing so much damage as well as Optic onto Dark Zero. Unfortunately, the zone might be claiming the last life here. Dark Zero forward down to just 5.
And even though the Guard, haven't been winning games, the consistency has been incredible. They've always been center circle. They've always been finding themselves into these final circles. And that's why they find themselves kind of in the top 2 at the moment for points. If they can continue this consistency, sometimes you don't need those victories. You just get the kills, you get the placements, and you will find yourself in a fantastic spot week in, week out. They might not be the flashiest team, they might not get those wins on the board, but honestly, they are going to be a team that everyone needs to feel threatened by with how consistent they've been today.
One thing I will say is this is an Optic game to win. Optic are sat at the very southern tip of this zone. They are on their own. Everyone else is stacked up on top of each other. There's Optic Gaming. They have a little bit of cover to play with as well. Complexity could be somewhat of a problem, though, if they do decide to swing out and cause damage to Optic as they leave that truck. But the zone will close behind Complexity first, so they'll be forced to move. 100 Thieves, zone closing behind them. They're going to have to fall off this high ground as well. They don't have the ultimate as well from Newcastle to give them that little bit of cover. It's going to be a rough landing here for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, they could go up if they wanted to, but no, they go down, and what goes up must come down eventually as 100 Thieves make their way across. They didn't go for the pure risky play. They went for maybe a more slightly medium risk play by just dropping and avoiding the fight as early as they could. You've either got to be first to move or last to move. You cannot be in between, but Optic have spotted out 100 Thieves. They've got the seer abilities to get that information, and they're dealing a lot of damage.
Well, there is the castle wall going down as well from Scurry. That is massive for 100 Thieves. It's going to buy them precious seconds here as Optic now have to leave that building. They have to leave the truck. They have to go across the open ground. And if they can connect with some shots here, 100 Thieves have a chance to take Optic out of this game. Monsoon will do it, though. Duplex will fall as Complexity make their move forward.
So many eyes on Optic Gaming at the moment. Unfortunate for them as they were the one team on the southern side, but that meant all the eyes were looking from the northern side. 2 are down. Optic surely are going to be down and out. Yes, they will. They finish in 5th position.
Optic Gaming out, down to just 4. Complexity fully dressed in red at the moment, suited and booted, and with a massive in their hands as well. Should be able to do a huge amount of damage. Monsoon and Luxford left as the last 2 alive as SSG make their play now, but Frex should be able to surely clean this one up. Monsoon down, but Complexity still not out as 100 Thieves will go down.
Could this be the Guards game, though? They've been there or thereabouts in the final circles, and finally they make it count, finally get that victory, and they are going to be real contenders to win this entire week with how they have played, with how incredible they found themselves in these final circles time and time again, and now they get that W to go alongside it.